Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And I want to begin by appreciating your words about Bob Moses. I worked with Bob Moses in the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, or SNCC, in Mississippi. I much appreciate your remembering him. My question goes to, and I would like to put up a slide. According to records obtained by the local Houston press outlet KHOU11, the Texas Attorney General received 197 complaints of voter fraud from 2015 to 2020, during which over 44 million votes were cast. That's 4 thousandths of 1%. Only 23 of these complaints pertain to the 2020 election, and there's another slide there, during which over 23 of 11 million votes were cast. Now that's 1% of 478,260 votes. So this is my question for Ms. Perales. How does the discussion of these pending cases mislead the people of Texas about the prevalence of voting fraud, given what I've just shown you?
There's just a complete and total mismatch between the very egregious restrictions that are being put forward in this bill, and which many of the members here today are refusing to engage on these specific provisions. But there's just a complete mismatch between what's in this bills and the very sporadic, individualized, anecdotal reports of voter fraud in Texas.
My next question then is for Representative Burnell. The Governor Abbott's own administration has rejected claims of fraud. Keith Ingram, who is a senior deputy of the Secretary of State and Director of State Elections, testified that elections, and here I'm quoting him, that the election was smooth and secure. So Mr. Burnell, how did Republicans react to Mr. Ingram's conclusion?
I don't think they care. I think they're going to do what they want to do, and it doesn't matter what facts or figures they have in front of them. It doesn't matter if it's from our Attorney General or our Secretary of State. They have a different agenda that's not based on numbers or reality, and that's why we're here.
Well, this is thank you. A question for Representative Collier. The failure to find fraud is certainly not the lack of trying. Attorney General Ken Paxton doubled the hours of his staff spent on fraud cases this cycle, 22,000 hours, and yet only charged 16 cases, minor cases, none of which resulted in jail time. So Ms. Representative Collier, what do you make of the argument that prosecutors simply do not have the tools to uncover massive voter fraud?
Well, thank you so much, Congresswoman, for that question. There isn't widespread voter fraud. That's the response. In fact, the ACLU did a study and found that 72% of the investigations by the Texas Attorney General, who, by the way, is under indictment for fraud himself, for security fraud himself, have been lodged against people of color, Black and brown individuals. So when you have a bill that increases penalties, creates new penalties, criminal penalties against voters, potential voters, it's only the conclusion that we can reach is that those would be targeted against people of color.
What are your thoughts, Representative Collier, on how the aggressive prosecution of alleged voter fraud has already affected voters of color?
And you raise a good point, because the way that the bill is written, that there's no mens rea. In law, we call that the intent. Did I have the intent to defraud? No, that's not even a question. It's whether the act was actually completed. So the state of Texas has gone off after innocent mistakes, like with Crystal Mason and Hervis Rogers, where they waited over a year to pursue charges just before the hearing on this harmful election bill was heard. So it's all a part of the narrative to politically posture and restrict our freedom to vote.
Mr. Chairman, can I simply thank you for this hearing on behalf of the voters of the District of Columbia who are struggling for statehood, who have no vote in this House or in the Senate. So this hearing on voter suppression means a great deal to me and to them.
And your comments mean a lot to us, Representative Norton, and as do the rights of your constituents who never stormed the Capitol, even though they've been disenfranchised for a long time. I thank you, and I